Good evening, everybody. Here we are at the beginning of the 24th week of the 2013-14 school year. It's flying by. Um, I doubt we'll see a 5-day work week this week. Just looking at the weather, I think we're pretty much going to have to play classes hour by hour, Monday through Wednesday at least, and then we'll see what the weekend holds in the thaw. So I'm going to thank you ahead of time for your flexibility because I know it'll be called upon this week. So thank goodness it's a fairly light week in terms of happenings. A reminder, tomorrow at 4:01, Monday at 4:01 p.m., we'll be pulling grades for the first 4.5 weeks for the second semester. So get everything in that you can. If it's not, remember grades are cumulative and they keep running, so it's not the end of the world, but we all know how parents and students like them to be as accurate as possible. So help us out there if you can, and thank you. Then Tuesday, as long as the weather holds out, we're currently scheduled to have our magnet showcase from 6 to 8 p.m. Everybody is expected to be there unless you've told me. I know I have one faculty member who has a commitment with an ongoing program at UT, and that person, though, has already made arrangements for students to be there to represent the program. So remember, it actually is more about the students than it is us anyway. So be sure you've got students there recruited to help showcase your area, your content, and the theme for the night. What we're trying to do is, this is all about telling people why they need to apply to come to us. So it's all about recruiting. This is all for potential future students, not current students. It's not an open house in that sense. Our PTSA will be feeding us beginning at 5 o'clock. I don't have any confirmation on what they're feeding us yet. I know there are a couple different things that were discussed. I'll see if I can find out tomorrow to give you a heads up to see if you want to plan ahead to bring something else. And I do know that on top of feeding us at 5 o'clock, they're also planning on enough food to be able to feed any students that you have helping out. So please pass the word on to them as well. And if the snow moves in, PTSA already knows that we were looking at a tentative snow date on Thursday night. Again, you look at the weather forecast, I'm not sure the roads are going to be good enough by Thursday night. And the whole idea was to do this the last week before the magnet window for application closes next Tuesday at the end of business at 5 o'clock. So if we get snowed out Tuesday night and possibly Thursday, I don't think we're going to try to extend it beyond that. It defeats the purpose. We'll figure something else out. Then a reminder, if we're in school on Wednesday, that's an early release date, and we'll be having a faculty meeting. It'll be a short one because I want to give you time to meet as departments to finish up recommendations for students on the scheduling for next year. And for those that are interested, we'll be having the kickoff for the space program. The countywide event is at the L&N Saturday from 10 until noon. You're all invited to attend. Come by and see what it is. But it has actually very little to do with the school itself, so no requirements or expectations there. Just heads up, calendar-wise, next Monday, system-wide in-service, your supervisor should have already communicated with you where you're going in the morning. Everybody will be out with their content areas in the morning. They're supposed to be releasing you to be back to school in the afternoon. All I'm going to say is that is your time. You can meet my departments if you want to. You can have time in your classroom if you want to. The whole administrative team will be at a principal's retreat in Gatlinburg. And we do have Joan and Yvette will be working that day in Lynn. And we do have, somebody who's been named to be in charge of the building for the afternoon. But that's all I'm going to say about that. You know what you need to do, you know what's expected, so that's it. Then on the Thursday next week, the 20th, The system 8th grade career day is going to take place from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Expo Center. This is an event, even though it's after the first magnet transfer window has closed, they still want all high schools to have booths there to talk about how we prepare students for careers. So we will have a booth. I know we're going to have robotics there, but anybody else who needs a few hours of credit for anything, we can use some help manning our booth, staffing it. It's just, answering a lot of questions about what the school is. Let me know if you're interested. That's on Thursday the 20th. Then a reminder, as you're planning, March 4th is in-school ACT for all juniors. We're planning on doing this in the morning. It actually begins before school at 8 a.m. It'll affect you even if you don't have classes with juniors in it, because if all classes that meet in the depot are going to be relocated for the morning, and it's actually the morning starting before school because the test instructions have to start at 8. So if you have classes or workspace in the depot, you will not be able to be in there after 8 a.m. on the morning of March 4th. You'll be able to get back in there a little bit after noon as we go about our regular schedule. So that's just a heads up in terms of planning, and know that your class schedule is going to get messed up and you're going to have short periods that day. So a couple things, how I always want to give you something, what's percolating on the back burners of my mind too. It's time to start thinking about summer reading. Anything you're going to require courses to read over the summer, we have to have them vetted and complete that placemat review that goes to central office. So be thinking if there's something new, different that you want to do. If you have recommendations for whole grade level reads, be sure and pass those on, because we're not married to any of those, so I'm not exactly sure we're going to keep them exactly the same. It's always a good chance to look at them and say, why are we reading that? Is that the best thing? So one of them is about summer reading. The other is, if you are planning on offering a new course next year, the deadline to submit special course requests for the system, for the curriculum to get it approved so it'll count towards graduation credit for our students, is March the 1st. That's the local internal deadline. If you don't already have access to it, or you don't have a copy from where I sent it before, shoot me an email and I'll send you the application that you have to fill out to request special courses. And one of the things that's going on with administrators right now is high school administrators across the system. We're being asked to rethink administration and what should the principalship look like. So as I was thinking about what it should look like, and sitting and talking with Jason and Tim, and we've all three been looking at other models at other schools, all the way from what the responsibilities are for each person, to titles, to just the leadership pipeline that exists within the schools. We're looking at models across the nation in other schools, and I was actually on the internet thinking that, a company that I would like to emulate, not necessarily their products, because I'm not a Google diehard or anything, but I can't help but admire the Google culture and the innovation that's fostered there. And as I was poking about on the Google website, I learned about something that they do on a regular basis. They call them the Google Cafes, and it's where the CEOs come down and hang out in the coffee shop at each location around the world, and it's the employees' opportunities to have direct conversation and just informal chit chat with these CEOs, which is a big deal if you were in a company that kind of a structure. I know it's not that big a deal to get to have direct contact or informal conversation with me, Tim, and Jason, but I think that idea about let's have a regular time to connect together. I know several of you have mentioned, especially those of you who are around the first year, have mentioned you miss those faculty meetings that we used to have every week in the morning, and it doesn't feel like we're connecting as well as the faculty. So I was kicking around the idea of, and I stole this one from our own Miss Robbins, that I know she does with her AP Euro history kids, the whole and I forget what age it's in. You have to forgive me, Jill. Somebody will have to correct me when they see me. But she has the kids do a salon, and when they do the salon, it's all about the thinkers getting together like they would have at the coffee houses to listen to music and talk about the issues of the day. So I was thinking that rather being as informal as Google and having a Friday cafe, I was thinking maybe we could have our own little version and call them salons. And what I'm thinking of is I don't know where to have it. I don't know if the office kitchen area is conducive to that. I think it's too cramped. I don't think, definitely not the media center, because I don't want to keep kids from going in there in the mornings. 104 I think would be too noisy. I was contemplating the war room or maybe upstairs. I don't know. So just as you're kicking the idea around yourself, just let me hear your thoughts. Is that a good idea? Nothing. Well, there's no expectations. Nobody's required to. It's not a faculty meeting. Nothing's going to be announced or shared that you would have to be there on a regular basis. It's just a regular appointment that you know the opportunity is there, that folks will be there and gathered, and it's a place to go and connect between our, well, I don't know if you could call our faculty meetings formal, but between our formal and structured faculty meetings. So let me hear your thinking about that. And in the meantime, I hope everybody has a great week. I hope everybody, as we're driving back and forth to school, as the roads are getting icy, I've got my TV is on with the weather even as I'm recording this, and I'm looking at the winter weather advisories that are all over our area starting tomorrow night. So I think this week's going to be a bumpy ride. So let's hang on together and we'll get through it. And I'll see you around the station. Good night.